This is Coffee, Country, and Cody.
Well, here we are in the big middle of Monday morning, the start of the work week that culminates for us really on Wednesday. Not much gets done after Wednesday in this town during CMA week. CMA Award Show night is Wednesday from Bridgestone Arena. Kelly Sutton and Aaron Cooper on Radio Row today and tomorrow. Tomorrow's show will have highlights from those interviews and feature them here on Coffee, Country, and Cody. And then on Wednesday, they will be on the red carpet to get us ready for the 58th edition of the CMA Awards. We'll catch up with Luke Bryan and Lainey Wilson and what it's like to be sitting in your living room in small town Georgia, Louisiana, and then be standing on stage a few years later hosting the CMA Awards with Peyton Manning.
She got a highway named after her as well. Lainey Wilson. She sure does.
Then we've got Randy Owen making news because BMI is celebrating, and they're celebrating him in the process. And Morgan Wallen has reason to celebrate. He has broken a record that was previously held by Garth Brooks and Luke Combs.
Oh, even if you don't even know what the record is, if you break those two, you know it. Well, I must have done something really good to win that record, right?
More Coffee, Country, and Cody is on WSN.
Well, look who just walked in to start CMA week in Nashville on Coffee, Country, and Cody, as it should be. Erin Enderlin, our longtime friend. Good morning. Welcome.
Good morning, Bill Cody.
You've already been active on social media in the last 26 minutes. It said a minute ago there.
Well,
promoting your visit to Coffee, Country, and Cody. So thank you.
I thought, why not?
Yeah. Franklin Theater Songwriter Series Thursday night this week.
It's happening.
Take that, CMA. Take that, Bridgestone Arena.
Well, I'm going to be making my Bridgestone Arena debut, too. We can just do another little announcement here, but I'm getting to sing the national anthem for Monster Jam in January.
You really?
Yes. Yeah. I'm pretty pumped about it.
So how does a girl like you wind up in a place like that?
Well, their tour manager emailed me and said he was a fan and asked if I'd come out and do it. And I've never actually got to sing the national anthem before, so I'm kind of terrified.
Oh, no.
But also I feel really good.
Yeah. Well, you should.
Feel really good about it.
Monster Jam.
That's awesome. I love that. You could have given me 100 guesses as to what the event would have been. I might have gotten PBR before I got to Monster Jam on the list there.
That's next.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's right. And she's
got a bingo card.
Okay. And she's going to do it while she's riding a bull.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah, that's what's going to set her apart. But Franklin Theater, just a wonderful venue, particularly for these songwriter-type shows.
Oh, yeah.
And it's Thursday night, and you got some special guests I know you wanted to mention.
Yeah, so Thursday the 21st, I'm playing with a couple of friends of mine, Maya Sharp and Denisha, and they're both incredible. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's one of my favorite rooms around here. It's just got that great, warm, inviting feeling, and I love old theaters. It's just a little bit of magic in the room.
Well, and the marquee is so cool too. When you walk up and see your name up on the, it just takes you back. The square in Franklin is just gorgeous,
and it's just right down the street from Puckett's too. So you can go, fill your belly and then fill your ears,
or the other way around.
Or the other way around.
Especially if you're an artist. Did you make Denisha's Opry debut?
I wasn't able to do that. I was out of town working, but Denisha is one of my she's not a new artist, but to me a new discovery in the last couple of years that I just love her sound, her music, everything about her.
Yeah, she's
a cool cat.
I got to work her debut, and I just fell in love with her voice, and I just loved her as well. She's just a good human. So take me back to the first time you ever played the Opry.
Man, so that was back in 2013, and it was just a pretty magical night. Got to go out there, and my grandma totally punked me. She said she couldn't come because she's got some back problems and different things, but then, of course, showed up to surprise me. And that was all I ever wanted to do, was get to play the Opry, so that was a big, big night for me. And
so was she the grandparent you spent the most time with?
I got to spend time with both sets of grandparents.
Oh, good.
I was lucky that way. Yeah. But she was my only living grandparent at that time.
Okay. What's her name?
Wanda. She's down in Little Rock being sassy. She might be listening tonight.
I hope so. Your most recent EP is called Barroom Mirrors. Erin Enderlin is our special guest. And when you look at the folks that have recorded your songs, a lot of Hall of Famers on this list. Alan Jackson, Randy Travis, Reba McEntire, Willie Nelson, and then add to that Leanne Womack, Terry Clark. Tell us about Willie and Erin of late. What's going on there?
Oh my gosh. So, Willie Nelson, that was my first record I had. The first song I learned to play was On the Road Again. And it was really special. I got a call one night. I was cooking dinner, and Larry Cordell called me, my co-writer, and he said, "Oh, I don't want to interrupt dinner. I just wanted to let you know that we got a Willie Nelson cut." And I almost passed out. I was like, "What are you talking about? Like, you don't want to interrupt dinner for that? You can interrupt."
Did he even say what song it was? Did you know immediately what song?
I did not know immediately, but he did say that it's a song called "I Wrote This Song for You." And
is there not a great story about how that song got to Willie? Because it should not have been in the batch of songs that Willie was about to hear, right?
Yes. So Chord's frequent co-writer, Larry Shell, I'm just going to stutter a little bit. I haven't had enough of the coffee portion of the show yet.
I thought you were trying to come up with co-conspirator or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
Also that.
Yes.
But Shell called Cordell, and he was like, "I'm going to get to play for your buddy and Willie, and I want you to send me some songs," because I guess maybe it was kind of last minute or whatever. So Larry just like sent some stuff that was in a folder on his computer that he thought were all demos they did, not realizing that he had accidentally put the demo of our song in that folder. And so Larry was just playing songs for me, and he was like, I kind of was listening to it and being like, I don't remember writing this song. But he just went with it, and that was the one that Willie ended up cutting, and they realized that I was actually the co-writer on it. So I owe Shell a steak dinner somewhere.
And the buddy you reference is, of course, Nashville songwriter, Hall of Famer, and an extraordinary producer, and worked with Willie for so many years now.
Yes.
All these recent albums.
Buddy Cannon, man.
Buddy Cannon.
And now, after 91 years that Willie had discovered you, he's going to record another song, right?
Yes, I've got another new song I can talk about now, and a new TV show that's coming out called The Gray House that Kevin Costner and Morgan Freeman are producing. It's coming out probably next spring sometime, but look for it. He's singing a song of mine about America.
Huh. Have you heard his Tom Waits cut of Last Leaf on the Tree?
Ooh. I don't know. I might have to check that out.
Tom Waits, he did it first, maybe a decade or so ago. And it's so perfect when you hear it, not knowing that Tom Waits wrote it. You would swear that Willie Nelson wrote it. Nobody could deliver a song that beautifully.
Oh, my gosh.
Especially at 91. And then the message of the song and what it's all about and where Willie is in his life without having written it. But it's not the case.
I love Tom Waits.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, I guess I've been a little bit of a narcissist for the last 6 months. Just my two Willie Nelson cuts are just on repeat in my car.
As they would be for me, too.
And I almost pass out every time, which probably isn't safe for driving, but, it'll be fine.
Hey, before we play it, let's get the backstory on Last Call from Leanne Womack.
Yeah.
Was this a co-write?
It was co-write. I wrote it with Shane McAnally, and we wrote it on Halloween one year. And we were watching some clips from the Pam Anderson roast on Comedy Central. And he walked in and he was talking about an ex that he had taken their name out of the phone, but the number kept coming up. And I was like, oh, that's what we're writing about today. And it just happened pretty fast. I talk about, like, sometimes when you get really in the zone with a co-writer, it's kind of like a zipper. You just each get in there, and we wrote that song from the first line down, which is maybe a little different than some people do. We didn't have a hook when we started it.
And how long before Leanne got it?
It wasn't too long. I actually went down and played it for my song plugger, and he was like, "What if you play me one more song about cheating and whiskey? What am I supposed to do with this?" And I said, "Well, I heard Leanne Womack's cutting next week." And luckily it worked out. I mean, she is one of my favorite vocalists ever. She's just incredible.
Now, as the Johnny Walker enthusiast in the room, I am a fan of everything Johnny Walker except the red. Did the red just work for the meter? Because certainly the black is a better drink than the red, and the blue is the best of all.
Yes. It's actually a nod to George Jones.
Okay.
Because I was listening to some of his music that morning that had Johnny Walker red in it.
Oh, okay.
Or Asleep at the Wheel in the letter that Johnny Walker read.
Yes.
Oh, there's that too.
It's good.
Here's Leanne Womack.
This is Coffee, Country, and Cody.
Erin Enderlin is our special guest Thursday nights after the CMA Awards on Wednesday. You say, yeah, there is something to do. And it's Join Erin, Franklin Theater Songwriter Series on Thursday night. Denisha and Maya Sharp are her special guests. we were talking about all the folks who've made it into the Hall of Fame that have recorded your songs. Have you had a CMA nomination?
I haven't.
Grammy nomination?
I've had artists who have.
That's important.
One of these days.
Yes.
But that's okay.
Are you going Wednesday?
I'm not going Wednesday.
Okay. So what is your week like as far as things, in addition to the Franklin Theater show?
Well, I'll probably watch from the comfort of my home. There's a couple parties in town usually during the CMAs, but I like to actually listen to the songs, and so it's a little hard to do that. And my idea of a good party involves board games, but
Well, it's like going to a Super Bowl party when you want to watch the football game. It doesn't happen. So sometimes it's better just to stay home and just
So it's no shade.
soak it in.
I just like to be able to focus on one thing. And then I'm playing Thursday night out at the Franklin Theater. I'm going hiking in Radnor tomorrow with my friend Tiffany, who's also a great songwriter. So if y'all want to come join us, we can just group hike. And then Friday, I'm going down to Savannah, Tennessee to play with Daryl Worley for a show. So it's going to be a fun week. And just enjoy the nice fall weather. It's looking beautiful outside today.
Do you have a friendship with Randy Owens, speaking of things going on this week?
I have not met Randy.
BMI, he's the Icon Award winner.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, that playlist is extraordinary.
Yes. I'm definitely a fan. And I saw him recently. I think he was speaking at the Hall of Fame inductions not too long ago.
Erin Enderlin, if you just joined us on Coffee, Country, and Cody.
Did you go to the? It was one of those things. It was a Sunday night. I had an invite, but it's just so hard when you wake up as early on Monday morning as we do. And then I saw that Vince Gill played with Keith Richards, and I said, you know what? I never should turn one of these down ever again. What a night that was! I mean, just
it's
crazy.
My favorite night of the year. And Lucinda Williams was there. Oh my gosh! It's just, I think I melted into a little puddle of country music happiness.
More Coffee, Country, and Cody is on WSM.
Excited that Marcus Hummon is back in studio with us for the first time in the Acuff House studio. And the stage that you are sitting on is wood from the Ryman Auditorium, the same wood that the Circle at the Grand Ole Opry House.
Oh, my gosh. Wow. This is
feeling something different now?
I do. I feel more nervous. I was actually feeling really relaxed. Now I'm not relaxed at all, but thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Oh, man, you brought back a great memory. I was working the Opry one night, and Levi was doing the show, and he brought you out, and you sat at the piano, and you guys did Bless the Broken Road, and man, the place just went crazy.
Well, every now and then he does bring me out, and it's huge honor to be out. That's really the only time I've ever gotten to go. It's because of my son.
That's Levi Hummon we're referencing. So I'm wondering, as a Nashville Songwriter Hall of Famer and one of the more memorable acceptance speeches ever given at the CMA or the Songwriters Hall of Fame, are you recognized more as Marcus Hummon, as Reverend Becca's husband, or as Levi's dad?
That's interesting. I'm definitely
Depends on the demo?
Definitely not recognized for myself. So it is either one of those two. I would say it leans towards actually Becca. I would say that more people will say, are you that guy that's married to the Thistle Farms lady? And I'm like, yes, I'm that guy. No, I'm kidding. I'm really
backstory on Becca.
Yeah, I'm really proud.
How you guys met and married and what?
Well, we met. Actually, I was moonlighting at the Divinity School at Vanderbilt, just looking for women. As you do. I'm just. I always say that's my joke. It's not really a great joke. It's a little bit true because I was looking. I was, open for a relationship, but I was. In my first publishing deal and trying to get a record deal, and actually got my first of several record deals that didn't work out. Actually, that very next year, and so I was only taking 3 classes at Vanderbilt, but then I got signed by Mary Tyler Moore Records. I don't know if you remember that.
MTM.
The famous debacle that was actually. That's the stuff of legend. But and when we married, I met her and I married her less than a year. I'm like, when I met her, I was like, done.
How about that?
I'm done. And had my first single ever out. I had Michael Martin Murphy's song called Pilgrims on the Way was on the radio, and I had a record deal, and I got back from the honeymoon, and they were shut down, famously with legal issues, without going into too much detail.
MTM, Radney Foster was over there?
So Foster, I believe they owned his catalog, but they had like Judy Rodman.
Right.
They had the Forrester Sisters. I believe they had Paul Overstreet too. And then I believe they published an album which became a seminal album called Faster and Louder, which was Radney Foster and Bill Lloyd. And that really affected a generation of people. That was sort of it was just one of those records that a lot of people know something about, even though it's not necessarily a famous record, but for the writers and artists of Nashville, that was a powerful record. So they really had a lot of MTM, but they got in serious legal trouble.
I don't know if I've ever shared this with you or not, but Pilgrim's on the Way
Yes.
for my daughter, Hannah, who is now married and has given us 2 grandchildren.
Wow.
That was our great father-daughter sing-along in the car because we're
You're
huge
kidding.
Michael Martin Murphey fans.
Wow.
And the line in there where she would belt it out, I would stop and she would go, "Hey, gringo, what about me?"
Oh my God. I don't think I have heard that song in a decade.
No
even
kidding.
heard it. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Just had
Wow.
such
I'm
a
so honored.
Great
Dude, wow.
driving rhythm to it, and it just was a wonderful.
Oh
wonderful
yeah, no, I was
piece
so
of
excited.
our-
First time I ever heard it, I only heard it once, but we were on our honeymoon. We were on the beach, and they played it like we were down in Redneck Riviera, and they were like playing it on the loudspeakers on the beach, and I thought I had died and gone to heaven. I really did. I was like, I could not believe it.
Tell me about songs for Emily.
Yeah.
Emily Dickinson, the
Yeah.
great poet.
Well, I have a lot of different kinds of passion projects through the years. I've written a lot of theater, and I get interested in working on Frederick Douglass for a decade. I just finished a show at Belmont on the Christmas truce of 1914. I get fascinated by subjects, and a woman, Denise Hicks, who ran Nashville Shakespeare for many years, asked me to set a particular poem. She wanted to do a one-woman show. And she's retired from Nashville Shakespeare, and we'd done stuff in the past. And she knew that I like to set poetry sometimes as part of projects, done some Shakespeare. And she said, I want you to set I Dwell in Possibility, this Emily Dickinson poem. And I had a love of Emily Dickinson, but I didn't know that much. And when I set the song, I went down the rabbit hole. And this was like almost 2 years ago. And I just started reading everything I could get my hands on. And so, Dickinson, when she died in 1886, she died at 55. And there were a handful of people that knew that she had a literary bent, and she'd written poetry, some poetry, but no one knew how much. When she died, they found nearly 1,800 poems in a chest in her room.
Back to when she was 11, I read.
Yeah, it's incredible stuff. And a few things had been snuck out and published, but always anonymously and never by her own hand. Like, she didn't actually succeed in trying to publish things. But some of the poems that were bound in groups, they call them fascicles, and in groups of like 40 and 50 poems that she bound herself with thread and put, she was. So within a decade, though, she was pretty quickly published and understood as one of the greatest poets in American history. And to this day, we're still just, there's an army of Emily Dickinson lovers.
But never lived to see it. Or to know that success.
She's one of those. We think, and historically, people like obviously Van Gogh is
artists
often the most
painters.
famous example of now the most expensive paintings in the world are Van Gogh. I think he sold one. His brother sold one.
Well, I think of Stephen Foster. Edgar Allan Poe.
Right, Poe. Yeah, he
never knew what fame would come there.
Well, and how much fame with Poe, like that he would actually create a genre, that he didn't, but I think with Emily, it's great too for a songwriter because, with poetry, you have distilled language, and that's such a huge part of who we are as songwriters, that we have a very short period of time to get a lot said. And with Emily, it was like, her lines, she would create a universe in a set of, 2 4-line, 2 quatrains. It was just a remarkable writer.
We're going to feature, first thing we're going to play is I Never Saw More.
Yeah.
Give us the backstory on that. We'll roll.
Yeah, so Never Saw More is just actually before that was always a poem that I loved. And where Emily, I think that Emily is looking at, by the way, when I say moor, it is a field with heather, it's like out on the moors, I had to look up a bunch of words, by the way. Every time I'm reading Emily, it's part of the fun of it is actually you go in, there's a line about gambrels of the sky, and I didn't know what that was, and then I realized it's a particular kind of angled roof that you see, it's very common in particularly New England. She's from Amherst, Massachusetts. But I didn't know the word, but that's also fun because then her vocabulary was stunning, and so you read it and you go, and then you capture some new meaning. But anyway, I just loved this poem because sort of how she talks about heaven and transcendence. And in this recording, I did not exactly set her language. I decided to make it funky. And so I changed the language, but I hopefully didn't change the meaning.
From WSM Radio, this is Coffee, Country, and Cody.
More with Marcus Hummon and some special guests he's going to introduce you to. Nashville Songwriter Hall of Famer, Grammy Award winner. You know him for Bless the Broken Road, both Nitty Gritty Dirt Band of Rascal Flatts, Cowboy Take Me Away, Ready to Run for the Chicks, Born to Fly, Sarah Evans. One of These Days, Tim McGraw, Only Love, Wynonna.
Yep.
You ought to be feeling pretty good about right now.
I feel good after hearing that right there. That made me feel real good.
Well, how's it look songwriter credits? Because I always like to see who the co-writers are and see Hummon Dickinson or Dickinson Hummon, depending on if one wants to go alphabetically.
I suspect she deserves first billing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Emily Dickinson songs. The Songs of Emily, Songs for Emily is the new album, and we featured Never Saw More just a little bit ago. 10 of the best Emily Dickinson poems everyone should read. I pulled that list up.
Okay.
I'm Nobody, Who Are You? I Heard a Fly Buzz When I Died. There's The Heart Asks Pleasure First. And then Hope is the Thing with Feathers. I love this one. Mm-hmm. Hope is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul
and sings the tune without the words and never stops at all. That's in the record.
Wow.
I had to do Hope.
Introduce your special guests and the fact that Mary Chapin Carpenter, what you're going to do this morning, is on the record.
Yeah, well, first of all, about Mary Chapin, she just, I knew that she was a big Emily Dickinson fan, and we've kind of followed each other on Instagram. I'm a big fan of hers, and she was really kind of an important person for me when I got into the business, too, for a variety of reasons. And then she's followed some of my theatrical work, and we're both DMV kids, so we're both DC kids. And we also both grew up, spent some time overseas. There are a lot of things. But it was still kind of a reach for me to ask her to sing on it, because she's just very famous and generationally one of the great singer-songwriters of I think of our time. And she was just absolutely gracious. And
can I stop you for a second?
Yeah, absolutely.
DMV. DC, Maryland, Virginia?
Virginia, that's right.
Okay,
Yeah,
I thought that was what it was, but I wanted to make sure. Okay.
Wasn't your dad a State Department guy?
Yeah, he was a State Department guy. So I grew up, bouncing around West Africa, East Africa, and Philippines, different places, Saudi Arabia, And I think she spent some time in Japan. At any rate, she's obviously not here with us today. She's got a farm but she's, offered her talents, and she sang so beautifully. The record I'm very proud of it. And she gave us some nice press stuff. She's just a really gracious person. But today, I brought two of my real favorite musician friends. To my left here is Forrest O'Connor.
Who's been a guest on the show.
Who's played here before with his dad, the famous Mark O'Connor. And then also Victoria Sanders, who's a dear friend who was, I believe, a Grammy winner with the Fifth Jubilee Singers during Paul Kwame's tenure.
And you had an interesting night together at the Ryman Auditorium, as it turns out.
Well, I asked Victoria when she would have last sung with the Singers, and it's been a few years, and I said, were you there at the Ryman for Habitat Humanity with President Carter? And she goes, I was. And it was one of those surreal and magical. I mean, the Ryman is pretty cool in and of itself.
And you hosted that.
Yeah, but boy, that night upped the ante. Wasn't that special?
I mean, amazing.
Yeah.
Nashville's Renaissance Man. That's Marcus Hummon on Coffee, Country, and Cody with Victoria Sanders accompanying him. And Forrest, it's good to see you, man. Yeah, Forrest O'Connor on mandolin and doing a little harmony vocal there, too.
Yes.
That was 1862, I read, for I Dwell in Possibility. Would that be right?
Let's see. She died in 58. Yeah, the first poems were published 4 years. That's correct, 4 years after her death. Yeah.
It says it's, according to Poetry, the Poetry Foundation website, expressing her preference for poetry over prose and her view of poetry as a source of unlimited freedom and possibility.
Yeah, that's
is that what you feel as a songwriter?
That is what I feel. I do feel that. I think she thought the primacy of poetry, and also that that poetry is deeply, deeply important in our lives. It's one of the reasons why we love country music, and why our poets are they're often our songwriters. Is that I actually would say I don't think we would know who we are as people if we didn't have poetry. I really do. I'm going
to get a text from Pat Alger saying he wants equal time for Robert Frost on another edition of the show.
Does he have a Frost project?
Oh my God! Well, he's like a Frost worldwide expert. Like he's been a guest on panels about Robert Frost.
Oh yeah, I haven't reached that level.
So I'm curious though. When you decided to do this poem, did you know it was going to be a duet? Did it just lend itself so perfectly to it?
In my mind, I did. I did originally because I wrote it for Denise for her project, and I just sang it, But as soon as I had recorded it, I knew that I wanted it to be a duet, and also at the very end, when you listen to the recording, it's almost choral in sort of multi-part, and I just thought, Mary's of course Victoria's voice is stunning. And Mary has that deep, that beautiful alto, that rich sound. It was really fun to harmonize with Mary Chapin's voice, even though I wasn't in the studio with her. When I got her files back, I just so enjoyed singing along with that glorious voice.
Yeah. Well, the melody you created is such a Mary Chapin Carpenter-esque melody, so what a perfect pairing.
Yeah,
it's magic.
I think so too. I appreciate that. I hope that you will listen to it, and there's some other cool stuff on Songs for Emily, poems like If I Could Not Stop for Death. It's just there's some of the really famous. And I picked all the ones I picked. I think are quite famous poems, and I may continue on and cut 2 or 3 more.
Oh, wow.
And maybe just flesh out the album in the new year.
More Coffee, Country, and Cody is on WSM.
In country music and here in Nashville, TJ Osborne of Brothers Osborne is 40 to kick off CMA week. His birthday today, the 18th of November, and he celebrates with Jesse Alexander, who is Grammy nominated. Listen to this. Nomination, Songwriter of the Year, all genre. Jesse Alexander and Jesse Joe Dillon is also nominated. So we got 2 representatives from the country music community in Nashville in the overall category, joining Amy Allen, Ray, and Edgar Barrera at this year's Grammy. So I wanted to mention that in conjunction with her birthday. Congratulations, Jesse. So let's talk the CMA Awards. What better way to do it than that Peyton Manning and Luke Bryan and Lainey Wilson sitting down thinking about, where did we come from to get to here?
The first time I got asked to host CMA Awards, I go back to being a kid watching. And then you're sitting on the front row as an artist in the awards and hopefully winning. And then to be up there on stage, kind of being the master of ceremonies. It's an amazing kind of hill to climb. So congrats.
100%. Thank you. It's a big deal. I mean, a few years ago when I got to get up there and just present an award with Dina Carter, I thought, this moment right here, like I will never forget this, just being able to stand up there on that stage and do that. So it's amazing what can happen in a few years.
As there's a stage, she's on it these days. Lainey Wilson, Luke, talking about the upcoming 58th edition CMA Awards are happening at Bridgestone a couple of days away. Our Kelly Sutton and Aaron Cooper, they're on Radio Row today and tomorrow. And we'll have some highlights from those interviews on tomorrow's Coffee, Country, and Cody. You can also watch CircleCountry.com and our WSM YouTube page. We'll have those as well. And for Lainey, the reigning entertainer of the year, big doings back home in Louisiana over the weekend. Baskin, her hometown, and the unveiling of Northeast Louisiana Music Trail markers dedicated in her honor Additionally, a portion of Louisiana Highway 15 through the village of Baskin from Louisiana Highway 577 north over to the parish line at Big Creek was declared the Laney Wilson Highway.
Our buddy Mike Manning, I think Monroe, Louisiana native, was down there for that. Opry Dan Rogers was part of the ceremony. Opry Dan, I saw him at the podium. This will shock you, by the way, but there is no direct Nashville to Baskin flight on Southwest Airlines.
Even with a Baskin International Airport?
No, somehow Opry
Complete
Dan...
with not only commercial flights, passenger flights, but crop dusting is also available.
Well, he ended up in Charlotte, which in my limited geographical knowledge does not seem to be on the way to Louisiana, but that's routing for you.